Taking on Google, the Department of Justice suing the technology giant, claiming it is illegally preserving a monopoly on internet searches. Google's relationship with Apple, also among the issues for this lawsuit, with two companies accused of working together to bolster each other's businesses. Google is pushing back on its own statement. Google writes this: today's lawsuit by the Department of Justice is deeply flawed. People use Google because they choose to, not because they're forced to or because they can't find alternatives. Actually, Google has 90% market share in all of search, and that is the crux of the claims from the Department of Justice. Joining me right now is Louisiana Senator, member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Senate Appropriations Committee, and Senate Budget Committee, John Kennedy. And Senator, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Maria.
So this DOJ lawsuit against Google, first let's tackle that. What are you expecting in terms of social media? Are you poised to vote to remove Section 230, which of course allows these companies on social media to not get sued? They've got liability protection.
Let's talk about Google. On the one hand, Google is an extraordinary American company, and I'm very proud of that. On the other hand, Google's no longer a company. It's a country, and a very powerful country. It and the other social media platforms can influence what we think, where and if we go to church, how we raise our children, what we eat, how we vote. If Google and the other social media platforms wanted to, they say they don't do it, but they could go to a file or create a file with your name on it, Maria, and know everything about you except your DNA, and they may have that. And that's an enormous amount of power. Now, in terms of the Section 230 liability, you know, I want to talk about what Twitter did and Facebook. The New York Post, a very reputable news organization, ran a story about Mr. Hunter Biden's emails. Once again, the New York Post is a reputable news organization. It's subject to the libel laws of this country. If it prints something that's not true, they can be sued. The New York Post says we have verified the emails. Vice President Biden has not denied them. Neither has Hunter Biden. And yet Twitter and to a certain extent Facebook censored the New York Post story. Now, that's not right. Now, they are private companies. It's true they can do what they want. But on the other hand, they have a huge government benefit. It's called Section 230 liability, or waiver of liability. You can't sue Twitter for libel. You can sue the New York Post. And government gave them that benefit, and we're going to have to visit the subject of whether they should still have it.
When do you expect this to happen? Is this a January 2021 affair in the Senate?
You know, Maria, one of the things that frustrates me about this place is that too many members of Congress, you know, they strut around and issue press releases, and we don't do anything. We should have had these hearings and make a decision years ago, months ago at the very least. I don't know when it's going to happen, but we've been talking about it since I've been here, which is 3.5 years.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you about the stimulus, but before I get to that, you mentioned this Hunter Biden story, and this is an important story. The Wall Street Journal op-ed this morning has a piece titled "China and the Bidens," and saying that Biden must answer questions about Hunter Biden and China, making the point that China is going to be the toughest foreign policy issue for America for some time to come. You've talked about that on this program many times, that it is critical for Biden to answer questions because China would be his toughest foreign policy challenge if he were to win in November. And we've got this email here from Hunter Biden to the head of a Chinese company, and we know that Chinese companies follow the Chinese Communist Party. And he writes, my understanding is that the original agreement with the director was for consulting fees based on introductions alone at a rate of $10 million a year for a 3-year guarantee of totally of $30 million. And when we were in Miami, the chairman agreed to a much more lasting and lucrative arrangement to create a holding company, 50% owned by me and 50% owned by him. Consulting fees is one piece of our income stream. But the reason this proposal by the chairman was so much more interesting to me and my family is that we would also be partners in the equity and profits of the joint venture's investments. Later on in the email, he writes all of the stakes in this company, and the last one is 10% goes to the big guy. Now, Senator, you've worked with Joe Biden in the Senate. Were you aware that his son was doing deals and potentially, as this email suggests, paying out himself as well as potentially the big guy, meaning Joe Biden? I mean, is this regular practice that a sitting senator, a sitting vice president is going to get money because his son is doing deals while he's actually negotiating policy in China?
Maria, I don't know who the next president's going to be. It'll be a close race. But whoever it is, whether it's President Trump or Mr. Biden, this issue's not going away. And as big as it is about China, it's even bigger. This is about the appearance that America's foreign policy can be bought, that we are for sale. All you have to do is hire the right person. And we need to get to the bottom of this. And I know some members of the media, they don't want to do anything to hurt Mr. Biden. They're stepping on the story. But in the minds of the American people, they want some answers. And this one's not going away, and it shouldn't. As I said the other night, the message this sends is that America's foreign policy can be bought like a sack of potatoes. And China will certainly act on that if it can.
Yep. All right, we will leave it there, particularly with the troubling news that we're getting this morning in terms of pretty provocative, and I say that loosely, pictures that have nothing to do with business deals, but something altogether really deranged. Senator, it's good to have you on the program this morning. We'll keep watching this story, of course. Senator John Kennedy.